Hey everybody, so I chose the article Understanding Dignity and Care, an exploratory qualitative study on the views of older people of African and African Caribbean descent from Saltus and Folks because of its focus. Saltus and Folks studied older people of African Caribbean and Black Welsh descent with the goal of defining both dignity and the meaning of care. They began their approach to defining dignity by trying to understand what dignity means to older individuals and what the older individuals expect when being treated with dignity. Next, they explored the definition of care, including approaches to care and outcomes to care. These two topics were addressed in interviews lasting 20 to 60 minutes, conducted from May to June 2011 in the United Kingdom. Specific topics to address the goals were what dignity is and what it looks and feels like, how the participants acknowledged each other's self-worth, how they perceived their care through their experiences and what it meant to have good or high-quality care, the effect of needing extra care on their lives and their feelings of self-worth, and lastly, social care needs. The 21 selected participants first began with a demographic survey. Saltus and Folks noted that 3/4 of the participants were female and they were aged 50 to 59 years old. Next, they had the participants rate their health on a scale from very bad, bad, fair, good, or very good. Half of the participants rated their health as good and one rated their health as very good. Saltus and Folks' conclusion to their interviews was enlightening, especially in relation to how much dignity played a role in determining perceptions of care. The first theme that Saltus and Folks identified was that of virtue of age. The participants all had similar beliefs that growing older was a revered status, and by virtue of age alone, they should command respect. The participants further elaborated on this theme by supplying that they felt respected when they were addressed by their surnames, had doors opened for them, had seats given to them, were greeted first, and were listened to instead of talked to or talked back to. They also noted that individuals should not act too informal when speaking with them. On the topic of acknowledging each other's self-worth, the main theme that emerged was respect for oneself allowed one to respect others. Essentially, the participants acknowledged others' self-worth by treating the person as they would like to be treated. With that concept in mind, participants expanded on it by saying that when they were growing up, their actions came under scrutiny by any adult, and it would affect their family as a whole. This concept is relatively lost in this day and age. All in all, the definition of dignity rounded out to being treated as a person. After the definition of dignity concluded, Saltus and Folks shared their results on the definition of care. Care in this study was overwhelmingly divided by the participants into caring for and caring about. Caring for was to have supportive, responsive care that was familiar to the individual. Caring about was to be loved and emotionally supported. The participants reiterated that to be respected was to be loved. Next, the participants seemed to align good care with being respectful and mindful of the needs that were stated by them. The older adults wished to have a familiar care provider that listened to what their need was and helped them to achieve it. Lastly, the participants all seemed to express that they wanted to remain independent in their own homes for as long as possible. With that being said, many of them didn't know the resources that were available to them. And they also said that they would not seek out formal care for themselves. This elaborated on what the participants might feel in relation of self-worth if they needed extra care. Saltus and Folks' study was enlightening, but it did have some limitations. The gathered participants were acquired through already established community researchers and the author's connections. The size and area of the participants came from a small urban area that's populace was made up of minorities. Also, the study was very small, with the aforementioned 21 participants. Despite the limitations, key information was obtained, especially in regards to the definitions of dignity and care. Dignity was shown to be linked to both respect and pride. This theme was universal for all participants and had a great impact on how they viewed their care. I personally found it interesting that the golden rule was included. treating others how I wish to be treated is the main way in which I operate with my care of patients. I think it stands to reason that despite what culture we may identify with, we all want to have good, high-quality care and to be treated as a person, not as a medical problem to solve. I think what I gained from reading this article was knowing that the definition of dignity can be quite universal. I want people to treat me like I would want to treat myself. I want to be able to have the same kind of privacy and the same rights to health care just as anyone else. And I want to have access to good quality health care without being discriminated against and without being treated differently. I want to be treated like a human. So I think this article kind of put that in perspective, and I'll continue to use that in my nursing care by treating others like I would want to be treated. As far as the caring aspect goes, I saw that the definition could vary a little bit just depending on the culture you come from and what you consider as respectful. In order to be more culturally aware and incorporate that piece into my practice, I would have to be aware of certain cultural norms that may vary depending on what the person identifies with. So I don't necessarily agree that we should continue just to stick with identifying the race of an individual, but we need to understand their ethno-cultural background in order to fully see them as a person. So we need to know, have they been in America for how long? We need to know what kind of practices they use. And this is where you need to start identifying things. Do they believe, in natural holistic care, or are they really into biomedical medicine? And that's where having conversations with my patients really comes in handy. So I think this article really helped to elaborate a little bit more on dignity and care and its relation to how people perceive their healthcare is. And it was interesting that it came from the United Kingdom and not just in the US. So it showed me that although, sometimes we're very different, sometimes, healthcare is very much the same. People, they want to be cared about, they want to be treated with respect, and they want to have good care. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It was fun and challenging to make, and I just wanted to do something different with the video option. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks.